Mến chào cô chú anh chị và các bạn. Chào mừng cô chú anh chị và các bạn đến với kênh Người Miền Tây ở Bắc Mỹ. Hôm nay ở tiểu bang mình có tuyết mọi người ơi. Và còn gì tuyệt vời bằng khi trời tuyết này mình ăn cháo gà. Đây cũng là lần đầu tiên anh Tim ăn cháo gà đó mọi người. Nào, mời mọi người cùng xem vlog này ngày hôm nay nha. Hãy nhấn nút đăng ký nếu lần đầu tiên bạn xem để không bỏ lỡ những vlog sắp tới nha.
Xin chào mọi người. Hôm nay mình nấu cháo gà. Có một số có một số anh chị kêu mình nấu là cháo lòng, nhưng mà chắc cháo lòng là chưa tới mức mà phải thử. Thành thử hôm nay sẵn có gà đi bộ mình nấu cháo gà. Mình sắc sẵn hết rồi. Cái này cháo gà thì gà xẻ phai. Mình làm gà xẻ phai giống như ở dưới miền Tây mình. Thì ở đây chế thêm nữa thì rau cải có gì thì mình làm đó. Nhưng mà ăn cho đủ chắc. Đáng lẽ gà xẻ phai thì có bắp cải với rau thơm thôi. Thì mình thêm ớt này, ớt sweet chuông. Nó không phải ớt chuông, ớt trái nhỏ nhỏ. Nó kêu sweet pepper. Với mình để rau cần vô. Tại vì bé Lập không có ăn được giá sống. Không biết anh Tim có ăn được. Anh Tim chắc không ăn được giá sống, nhưng mà mình trộn rau cần. Gà thì mình luộc xong rồi. Gà này nó cũng nhỏ. Gà bên đây chạy bộ. Gà đi bộ chứ thật sự bộ không biết có đi bộ không thì không biết, nhưng mà da dai lắm. Ở đây có cái đầu nữa, mình cắt bỏ cái đầu rồi. Mà gà ở đây cái nó xẻ sẵn vậy luôn rồi. Nó có gà này gà đẻ trứng, gà kia nó có trứng non ở trong đây nữa nè. Bây giờ mình mua thêm cái đồ lòng. Mình mua thêm mề với gan. Giờ mình cắt xẻ phai nha mọi người. Là cái này không biết cái gì, không biết. No, cái này hình như bọng đẻ. Nó hơi dài. Lần đầu tiên cái cũng ăn cái đó. Ở nước mắm thì mình làm hai loại. Một loại nước mắm này thì để trộn gỏi, còn nước mắm này mình để chấm. Tại vì nước mắm trộn gỏi mình làm nó đậm đặc hơn. Cái nước mắm thì mình làm sẵn, lúc nào nó cũng có trong tủ lạnh hết. Mình thì mình thích ăn gan. Thêm nói là ăn gà này là bao là không có xương nha. Có xương là thêm kiện á. Thành thử bây giờ mình xé cái phần ức có thịt để riêng ra cho anh Tim. Có chân gà mà không chắc anh Tim không dám đâu. Không dám thử. Có chân gà đây. Mình thì thích ngậm xương, mình lấy chân. Victor thì món này Victor không có thích ăn cháo. Victor này không có thích ăn cơm mà ướt kìa. Victor kêu là vậy đó. Đó, thành thử Victor không có tham gia video này. Đây cái trứng nè.
Trứng non.
Trứng non. Trứng non. Mình thì thích ăn gan. Bởi vì nhà ở chung được, người thích ăn gan, người thích ăn chân, người thích ăn thịt, ăn xương. Thích ngậm xương.
Today we're going to
Hello.
eat soup.
What soup?
Chicken rice soup. Homemade. and this guy's gonna get cartilage or bone, even though she says I won't. I've never had it, but I'm gonna try it today.
Hôm nay mình nấu cháo gà giống như mọi người nói. Có chào bẩy nữa, tại vì mình đi chợ có chào bẩy, hình thử mình nấu cháo gà.
I have a question.
Yes.
If it's soup, what do I need chopsticks for?
To eat in the vegetable, if you want.
Why would I put not anymore. Why would I put vegetables in my soup?
Oh, because this one we need in the vegetable on it.
Why are you putting fish sauce on it all?
We're mixing it for it.
Salad.
Like salad, chicken salad.
This is not chicken feet salad.
But in this one, I have in this one all the thing, liver.
Oh,
Giờ mình chọn cho mọi người. Mình biết thêm là không có ăn gạo, mấy gạo này thành thử mình để riêng, mình để gà xé ra riêng cho thêm cái ức gà. Ok, mời mọi người cùng ăn với gia đình mình nha. Mình có để thêm nước mắm tới chấm ở đây. That is. Here, try this one. Go together with that.
all right.
I hope no bone in it. Hey.
It's not bad.
So you want to try? No.
Which one am I? I'm eating the soup.
Ngon chứ.
No.
Vừa ăn.
Thấm hả?
Oh, it's not bad. The rice is a little weird because it's like
Saki.
soggy. But it tastes like chicken soup.
Chicken rice soup.
Okay. I have no idea what it is. Cabbage and something.
Cabbage and sweet chili, celery, mix.
Oh. I don't know. It's not bad. I don't know what it is.
That's that. Don't eat the chicken because
I don't know. It's. Excuse me. That's celery. You can't change the taste of that.
Nãy có trứng non nữa rồi chứ.
chưa ăn này. Chưa ăn. Liver.
I had liver before. Doesn't change much.
Đấy. This one liver here. What are you looking for?
I just want to try the vegetables.
Okay, because I don't want you got the chicken after.
This is a first. I'm going after the vegetables.
Okay.
Tastes like it's got. I don't know how to describe it. It's not bad.
Because I got the sauce, honey.
What sauce?
This sauce.
It's fish sauce. But it doesn't taste fishy.
Yep, it mixing together.
Oh, you made the white person version.
No, Asian. We mix like that. We dip it.
It doesn't taste bad, but I don't know what it tastes like. I want to say vinegar, but not vinegar.
Got vinegar in there?
But it's not strong. It's not sour. It's not
Okay.
sweet.
Right.
Just give me time. Give me time. I'm trying. It's I'm a terrible foodie. I can't describe it. The flavors. It's not bad. It's different. It's not offensive. It's sweet, but not sweet.
It's sweet, sour, and a little bit salty together.
I don't taste salty. More vinegary.
It's not really. Yeah.
But it's not bad.
That's the way the salad make like that, honey. The Vietnamese salad.
Oh, okay. Salad.
Có thương á. Put the bread on in this sandwich, it's really good.
Bitter.
Rồi.
Go ahead, throw some in there, but I don't know. It's you can't let it sit too long though.
Yeah. Because you like it. It's bread. Cắt bự nha.
Ăn mới đã.
Not very filling though.
That's why we eat vegetable. Is this something?
Even the vegetables aren't very filling. Meat and potatoes, it sticks to your ribs.
Thêm quen ăn nhá, burger. This one like white rice soup, honey.
It's not bad.
But white rice soup in this one crunchy. Ở đây có cái gạo mà cái loại dài á mà nó cứng giống như là nếp than vậy. Ăn nó sực sực giòn giòn, đúng không? Nó nấu cháo như người Mỹ nấu cháo.
Dạ. Chứ không hay gạo mà ăn đồ với đồ mã hả?
Cái đó chậm chỉ có Minnesota chậm thôi, gạo. Ngon hơn. The white rice in Minnesota grow it.
No.
No?
Minnesota, I don't believe, grows regular rice. Wild rice.
Wild rice.
Oh, I thought you said
No.
white rice.
No, not white, wild.
Wild.
Gạo quang hả?
But it's more grass seed than it is rice.
Yeah.
It grows in swamps. Yeah.
Buy in the mums.
All
Up
over
there.
Minnesota, northern Minnesota. Yeah.
Thêm ít ăn rau này nọ. Ăn chỉ có salad.
Pepper got me in the throat. But wild rice doesn't really have flavor. It just has crunch. Even after you cook it, it still retains a crunchiness. Even though it's cooked. Like white rice, if you overcook it, it gets mushy.
Yeah, other one doesn't.
Wild rice does not get mushy.
That's why I told her.
It's still al dente. Crunchy.
Cái đó thường thường là Thanksgiving. Nấu cái turkey xong cái nước ở dưới á.
Or are you talking about your first Thanksgiving?
I told him how to cook that one in the Thanksgiving and we cook the turkey.
My stepdad took the leftover drippings from the turkey in the pan, shredded a turkey, and then put 2 cups white rice and 1 cup wild rice back in the mix, and then throw it back in the oven at like, I don't know, 200, 300 degrees for an hour, and it just kind of cooked. And
It's still crunchy.
and the rice soaks up all the juices from the turkey.
Yeah.
And it turned into it wasn't a soup. I don't know how to describe it. But it's not thick like mashed potatoes.
It's thicker than this one, but
Like almost like a thick stew.
it's not stew yet.
Okay. A stew is soup is watery, more water. A stew is thicker.
Nó đặc á, giống như cơm nhão vậy. Nó hơn cơm nhão tí xíu.
Have we made him chili yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's next on the list. Like real thick chili. And it was good though. It was really, 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 really good. But again, John cooks like you cook.
Yep.
I mean, he has recipes for certain things that he'll follow to a certain degree. But for the most part, when he cooks, a little of this, a little of that. And you never know how it comes out every time, but it's always good.
Yep.
I don't think you've made anything bad that way. Honestly. I know there's your foods, and now I'm adventuring into trying it more. But I don't think you've ever actually made anything bad. I know Emily's never been disappointed in the stuff that you've made.
Yeah.
Ăn ngọt.
What?
He tried by me, he wanted bone or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's the other problem with my stepdad's chicken soup. Homemade chicken soup, homemade cooked chicken, homemade noodles, and it doesn't matter how careful he is with like a strainer colander of separating the chicken with the meat. Every single time I got a chunk of cartilage or bone.
You always lucky.
Always. I could have 2 bowls in a row and each one would have a chunk and nobody else would get one. Nobody. Ask her. She watched it happen.
I think because you lucky.
See?
I'm lucky?
Yeah.
Well, then why can't I win the lottery? Oh, I already know why. I did win the lottery once, 17 and a half years ago. And yes, I speak Vietnamese. An yêu em nhiều lắm. There are only words I need to learn. And yes, YouTube followers, you need to understand that my sense of humor is on the sarcastic side. And my daughters have kind of acquired said humor of sarcasm.
Which daughter?
Both. Emily more than Victoria. But just because I know sometimes it comes off and sounds mean, but it's not. It's just sarcastic. It's a sarcastic sense of humor. Not always great, but that it is what it is.
That Tim family.
That's my entire family.
Her,
In fact,
my sister-in-law in this understand. My sister-in-law was like that. Right, Sarah?
Right, Sarah? She's been in one of the videos before.
Yep. She in the video in the, I think in the Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
That's my sister-in-law. That's worse than Tim.
So when I tease my brother-in-law Lap there about breaking fingers for eating the pineapple or the banana bread, I'm not being serious. It sounds like I'm being mean, but I'm not. I just tease him that way. And it has to do with my sarcastic humor. So yeah.
You don't want more?
I'm okay. It wasn't bad, okay? I'm getting there. I tried
This
that.
is your first time anyway.
Yes, it is. And aren't you surprised that I actually tried that?
You did. I did.
And I had more than one try. I did it 3 times. So yes, it's not bad. I can't describe it. It's not bad. It's very unique to me in a good way.
This one, it's been soaked longer a little bit, mixed with the celery. a little bit in this one with the sauce a little bit longer, it be so good in there.
Well, of
It tastes
course.
better.
Oh, and it tastes better? Mm-hmm. Well, hey, I tried kimchi for the first time at the Korean barbecue. Come on now.
Yeah, Tim, he did.
They saw it. It's on there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Eat like chicken wild rice soup. There's not as much rice in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more stock, as in it's thicker. I would call that almost a stew. The Campbell's or the whichever version. What's the brand name that I bought, honey?
Để gạo vô đây.
Progressive.
Khám ngon.
Progressive. Was that the brand name?
Progressive. Yeah.
Progressive.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be soup, but it's a thicker broth, which I think borders into stew territory.
Yeah, but that in the can.
I know it's canned, but that's what I mean.
Để cho nó thấm á.
I think it's less rice. This one is a lot of rice in there, so you feel it more. To me, it's the same as drinking orange juice with pulp. It's the feeling of it as you're it's soup, so it's like you're drinking it, not eating it. It's weird. You know what I mean? It's good soup. It's chicken soup. And you know what? Next time I get sick, I want this.
We can do the noodle too. We got
You
one
put
kind.
rice in there too, but
Yeah.
rice is,
But most this one we cook in this one for in the morning. They sell in the Vietnam. They sell in the morning breakfast.
this is not breakfast. Come on. No. You don't eat chicken soup for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
And some in they eat in most in this one. Yeah, we eat in the breakfast because it's not filling. This one.
You're supposed to have a good, hearty, big, thick, heavy breakfast. But I suppose when you live in a warm climate, it's different. I don't know. She's been here 17 and a half years now. Almost 18. And living in Minnesota, you'll notice that your eating habits change over the season.
It is.
In the summertime, you tend to eat less. In the wintertime, you tend to eat more. So, I could understand this is a light meal for living in Vietnam. But here in Minnesota, this is lunch or dinner, not breakfast.
That's why ở đây ở tiểu bang mình á, lạnh á, thường á là ít hoạt động mà đói bụng hoài à. Thành thử á, lúc nào mà sau cái mùa đông á là bị tăng cân. Right, after winter we be gain weight because not active enough.
Most people gain weight over winter because you're inside all winter. Nobody likes to go out when it's, below freezing.
Feel lazy.
Yes, you do. But there's also a reason why they call it cabin fever, too.
Oh, because
In Minnesota, you see less sun. A lot less sun during the winter.
right, that's why this one he said. That's why this one I went to Vietnam. In the most of people you go to in the this one in the vacation in tropical, they not in wear hat or cover up much. He realized it when he here. He said, yeah, doesn't have much sun in this one in the winter.
No, because the sun is tilted more from the sun. That's why it's colder, and that's why we have less sun. Winter solstice, the longest night of Minnesota's year for this area, and then summer solstice is the longest daylight, and it just goes back and forth.
Because in Vietnam we have in here when I move here now I know it in Vietnam most in the old generation they always say in the like giống như tháng 5 chưa nằm đã sáng, tháng 10 chưa cười đã tối. Cái câu đó mọi người là mình ở tiểu bang này mình mới biết tại vì mùa đông á là cỡ khoảng 5 giờ chiều là không thấy mặt trời là bắt đầu trời tối rồi. Còn mùa hè á 9 giờ rưỡi vẫn còn sáng.
Mùa đông đi ngủ sớm. Là gì mà
Right, but see,
Cái thời gian nó dài tại vì mùa đông tới 8 giờ mấy 9 giờ á mặt trời mới lên. Mặt trời mọc. Còn ở cỡ chừng 5 giờ là mặt trời nó lặn. Chứ không có chặt mà tại vì mấy cái
See, Vietnam is in between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer.
Really?
So Tropic of Cancer and the Capricorn are
Đảo.
right, but they're, you know, the border of tropical. Well, Vietnam is in between the equator,
Half.
which is literally the half from north and south, and then Tropic of Cancer is the top of the tropical zone, and Vietnam is right in the middle. So Vietnam, over the course of a year, their seasons don't change sunlight-wise like Minnesota. Because they're closer to the equator, so it doesn't matter if the Earth is tilted this way or this way.
They're still the same.
They changes, but not like Minnesota, which goes from here to here, where Vietnam is here and just moves a little bit. So the sunlight is different.
Yeah. I'm really full.
Really?
Yeah. I am. That's
Good
like
for
it did
you.
fill up a lot.
Good for you. And the funny thing is, I could have ate just as much as her, and in half an hour I'm hungry.
The same like I eat cheeseburger.
And if I eat a cheeseburger, I'm good for the next 5-6 hours. Her, on the other hand, if it's reversed, where she could eat a big old double cheeseburger, half an hour later, because she didn't eat rice, she's, I'm hungry.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Cảm ơn. End up đi.
Cảm ơn mọi người đã theo dõi hết bữa ăn của nhà mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày thật là tốt lành. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.